The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to check out our affiliate sponsor, One of One Productions, the New Jersey-based podcast studio that produces and edits both audio and video podcasts. They sell equipment for the avid podcaster and have even created a guesting kit exclusively for our listeners. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
Kind of owning a business and serving a community is, you start it with your own kind of preconceived notions and concepts about how things are going to work. But once you get to a certain level, you kind of have your own focus group, and it's more of using the community to tell you what they need. So when we started, we kind of had a similar concept as you would think, is like, okay, how are we going to sell, 10 kettlebells to a person, right? Like, this is a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
But we quickly realized that was not true. We quickly realized you buy one and you realize you need more than one. So most people don't come and buy the full needs in their first purchase. So you can, rather than you buying the 5 or 10 that you actually need, you're going to buy 5 over the next 6 years. And then what else can we supplement in there to also get you? Because we basically can ship that now for free to you. So, once a year we get to ship you something else that you can purchase for free along with your average, or your normal kettlebell purchase. And I think that's more of the typical customer.
Cross-sell, the upsell.
The cross-sell, the upsell.
Once you have a community, a loyal customer.
You're talking about, 3+ purchases from most of our customers. And we wouldn't have expected that starting the business. And, I think that's just us looking at all businesses like data and kind of like a growing organism, that it should take the data and take the community, and then we just kind of turn that into products that they need. If our community is saying they need, if they like dumbbells as well, we'll partner and create relationships with a dumbbell company, or we may come up with our own new brand of dumbbells. Right.
Or you can wholesale it, right?
Exactly. We'll serve the community, but keep the brand focused on what it's about, and the brand's content generation strategy. And, like we would try to see it as like the ESPN of the kettlebell world, where you're trying to create a centralized place where people absorb credible information, and then you serve that community whatever products that they want.
Could be supplements, protein, and whatever. Doesn't have to, Didn't have to be weights.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So now you're building a mailing list of people that So I guess that's what ultimately brought value to the business, right? It was the community, the loyal customers, and the brand name over time.
Sure. I mean, and you're talking about, we are doing this for 10 years. So, we have hundreds of thousands of leads at this point that, qualified leads that, we've paid for and communicate with on a regular basis. So once you have such a large mailing list, like I say, it becomes a lot easier to bring products and services out, because they'll tell you what they want. Yeah.
See, I ask good questions. I don't know. People don't think I ask good questions, but that's a good question, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Got a great guest today. This is actually a rerun. Nobody knows that, but Chad and I had some technical problems due to my inabilities with our new platform. So he came back on. He was nice enough to come back on. We'll talk to him. If you are listening on your favorite audio platform, Amazon, Google, Apple, Spotify, be sure to leave us a 5-star review if you can. And if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and be sure to like us. So let's get on with today's show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode.
Hi, my name's Chad Price. I'm the founder of Kettlebell Kings, and I'm now the CEO of Life Grows Green, my lifestyle brand around natural and green products for a healthy lifestyle.
All right, Chad. So things have changed since you've been here. So now I got the music. I figured all this stuff out. I actually did an episode where I didn't realize the recording wasn't on halfway through with the person I was talking to, and we had to salvage that too. But I only had a few of those far between. So I apologize. For those of you listening, the technical difficulty was I didn't know how to use the system, and on the video, Chad's voice would echo, would like double. So then we got him on earphones, and we're doing it. We're doing it differently. So Chad, thanks for coming on. I know you're the former. You don't own Kettlebell Kings anymore, right? You guys exited that company.
Yeah, we exited in November of 2021. It was a part of a 3-year acquisition, but yeah. So
you have a lifestyle brand we're going to talk about. Yeah. You're a true entrepreneur. You used to be in corporate America. So why don't we go back? Tell me about your experience in corporate America. What you made. You pack it in and said, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and how you even developed the idea for kettlebells.
Sure. When we started, or I should say when I kind of started my corporate career, or after I graduated college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I worked for a couple of small businesses in construction. So, I was a project manager for construction.
Just have like a general business degree?
Yeah, I got a general business degree.
Yeah.
And, it's a double major. I specialize in sports management as well.
Okay.
But it was, I knew I wanted to be a part of some successful team. One of my teammates' dad owned a construction company. And so he needed some help, had a position for me, and it was kind of a quick work after college. And
that is kind of how it works, right? You go to college, you're all excited, you get this great major, and then you come out and you're like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, you didn't know, right?
Well, yeah. And I've always been a guy to work different jobs. So I had worked construction before. And I'm interested in completing projects. So, I like to start something and finish something. If it's something that just becomes monotonous right. every day,
all the time.
Can we automate this and get me out of here? Because it's not me for me to be here anymore. But I really did like that about construction. But there just wasn't as much money doing what I was doing in construction, working for the company I was working for. And so I got into oil and gas, which was more traditional corporate America. And so I was working downtown, actually for TransCanada, and that was. So
what town was that in? What city were you?
In Houston, Texas.
Oh well, it makes sense. Oil and gas. In the United States. Okay.
So the heart of oil and gas. Yeah.
Right. But you're in corporate America. You're not at the oil rig. You're not in the fields.
Yeah. So we're we're talking about the 26th floor or whatever some building downtown.
Got it.
Basically, it was a good experience of what corporate America was. You're really living the downtown lifestyle. You're seeing in kind of amongst the same people who would aspire to be, VPs and CEOs of these kind of huge
lifers.
Corporate companies. Yeah, exactly. The lifers,
of course.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting, right?
Being in that network, I kind of realized it was exciting for sure, especially when you're younger. I think it's you really see okay, this is how it is for the rest of your life. You get to see someone who's 55 and been through.
Right. You're like, do I want to be that person?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I felt the same way when I was in corporate. Yeah, absolutely.
And so some of those situations, for me, it was, I've always been a type of person, I like to get the experience and then I know what I'm missing out on. So there was kind of it was a no-brainer that I was going to enter corporate America and get that experience. And once I did that, I quickly kind of realized like this is not the same as like, project based getting things done.
Right.
It is more of, like you say, a lifer, and it's a culture that you kind of have to cultivate in yourself and be a part of if you really want to make it long term in corporate America.
Right. Definitely.
And that just, it didn't fit necessarily my personality or my own personal
Right.
aspirations at
So
the
how
time.
long was that? How long were you with them?
I was with them about 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, before I realized, I need to jump into my own thing.
Right.
And so in doing that, once I realized that, I started kind of reaching out to 4 to 5 friends and letting them know, like, hey, I really want to start my own business. Like, this is something that I'm serious about. I'm really going to do this. We have to
Right.
find the right kind of fit and product, and yada, yada,
So
yada.
was this still like, hey, do you want to partner with me, or do you have ideas, or what were you?
The main goal I had initially was to find 3 friends that wanted to do it. So, I had kind of pre-selected a number of people, and we had talked about things in the past about, what we might want to do. But
so you knew they were interested.
I knew some
but you
people
didn't want
might
to go
be.
it alone.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
daunting,
exactly. I
right?
knew some people might be interested. I went to Rice University. I have quite a few intelligent friends. I have some very competitive friends. I played sports, my entire life. So,
Right.
I have friends who were in professional sports settings and things like that as well. So I really
So
had
that was the industry you were thinking about.
well,
like
I just had a network of people who had either resources, the knowledge, the aspirations
like
to
a natural market.
to try to do something like that. So my main goal was to get at least 3 of us together so that we could have, an easy decision-making process. And I really like, moving things forward. I'm not big on kind of holding things up and letting people's personal egos get in the way. So I wanted to
that's
have
exactly what corporate America is about.
Exactly. And and I wanted to have, this is a council, we vote and we move on.
Right. Get things done.
We get things done. If we don't, we're not going to all get our way. We don't have to like everything. Everyone is trying to move in the best interest of the business. And if everybody trusts that and keeps that as the focus, we all get better at doing that as we go along. So when I found those 2 partners, we decided, we're all going to put $10,000 into an account, and we're going to start figuring out what we want to do.
Okay, so you weren't really the accidental entrepreneur. You were the purposeful entrepreneur. You said, here, let's put money into a bank account. Yeah. Let's sit down and let's start brainstorming and, strategically working out ideas.
We knew narrowly that we wanted to do something in e-commerce. So we knew we didn't really want to have a physical location. We wanted to build something
online
people could experience on and did not have to travel to a physical location to have. So we didn't know at the time if that was
what year was this?
This would be 2011, I guess, when we started thinking about it.
So there was some foresight to that.
Yeah, and then 2012 is when we launched it. But we didn't know if it was going to be a product, a software, a service, really any of that. We just knew we wanted to kind of fill that online need. And at the same time, I was also, exiting, let's say, competitive sports and entering into more of a working out for functional fitness and for kind of just to have a healthy lifestyle for the, for the rest of my life.
Competitive sports was college, right? And then
competitive sports was college.
You play in college?
I played football in college. So,
sure.
So for Rice University.
Oh yeah, you told me that, right? Yeah. Rice is in Houston. Yeah, Rice is a small school, right? Like 1,500 students. Is it that small?
I think it's like 4,000 or so, something like that. But yeah, it's a pretty small school.
Right.
Yeah, and it's highly, academic.
It's a great school,
academically recognized school, and there's a lot of experience that I take from Rice and still use to this day because very like corporate America, it gives you insight into how intelligent people think and how to interact with people who are more or less intelligent than you, and even on the extremes of intelligence where you have literal geniuses that
absolutely.
So
probably good connections and stuff.
Yeah, so I think
these guys all, did they go to Rice with you, or did you grow up with them, or?
One of them did. Yeah, one of them went to Rice with me, and then one of them was best friends with another guy who went to Rice with me. So we knew each other from, since we were 18 years old and had kind of hung out and went through the college experience together and had all went our separate ways in corporate America.
Got it.
One of my partners actually was working with me at the oil and gas company that I was working with as well. So we kind of had, talked about it at work. And let's get the hell out of here. He wasn't as miserable because he ended up staying there quite a while.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
we realized after about 6 months of starting the company that socially and from the leads we were able to generate, that we really had like found a need, let's say, if you will. So
Okay.
before the revenue showed up on our bottom line, we kind of knew this was going to take more than us just kind of half-assing it, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
We
It's a
knew
side gig.
someone
Right.
was going to have to kind of put more full-time
That was
effort
the
towards
kettlebell
it.
company.
And that was the Kettlebell Company.
So, I mean, maybe I don't know if you remember what other ideas you came up with or toyed with or thought about. I'd like to know those, and also then how you ended up on kettlebells. Obviously, the relationship is you're physically fit. You played football. You're probably still working out, lifting weights or whatever. So you're in that world. But I'm curious as to what that process looked like. Like, what kind of cockamamie ideas did you come up with?
Sure. We had different ones, we had everything from like rolling papers, like smoking supplies and accessories and
Right.
things like that.
Not
To
related to sports and health and fitness.
exactly not related at all. To
Right.
tools, to
Okay.
different type of men's subscription offerings.
Yeah.
So it was a ton of different ideas that we had on our list. Kettlebells, because we were on this kind of personal journey as well to find our next functional fitness and kind of own personal workout routines, we were not really familiar with them at all. And we all started utilizing them after college together. And the popularity of the tool itself was also increasing at the time. So, you were talking about looking at a growing market and looking at a niche that wasn't necessarily filled by anyone at the particular time. So
At that time, it wasn't as like you see them all the time now at the gyms.
yeah, you see them
Just for
everywhere
people
now.
listening, kettlebells are those, they're like round weights with handles on the top. I don't know if they're always round, right? But they have handles on the top of them as opposed to like dumbbells, right?
Correct. So yeah, I mean, the easy way I just explain it to people is like, it's like a ball with a horseshoe on top. It's
Yeah,
that.
that's a good way to describe it.
That's an easy way to describe it. But
And why did, because I guess I didn't play sports in college, but I was weightlifting. I was going to the gym downtown, whatever. They didn't have a fitness facility at the school in those days. You're talking 85, 86, right? I'm older than you. And so we didn't have kettlebell. I mean, I don't think they existed. So what are they? Where did they come from, and why are we using them now?
well, that's the thing. They've always existed, right? Like they're
Okay.
they're an ancient tool. So the first kettlebell, someone decided to drill a hole in the rock and use it as a handle, and bigger rocks equals more weight, and you have different examples of people throughout history making those types of kind of heavy lifting devices or anchors or whatever you want to kind of use that tool particularly for.
Okay.
But
Well, as opposed to a dumbbell, like why a kettlebell? Just because it's easier to
the
use?
biggest difference is the symmetry of it, right? Like a
Okay.
dumbbell is going to be designed for it to be perfectly symmetrical over a bar, whereas a kettlebell is going to have the weight kind of more. It's going to be more bottom heavy, and
Yeah.
different kettlebells can be made differently. So when you're talking about especially if you're talking about competitive kettlebell lifting, you can make it more bottom or top heavy by the different ways you cast it, the way you make it more or less dense on the inside, the hollowness of
Okay.
of the bell that you're making.
Wait. Back up. There's competitive kettlebell lifting?
Absolutely. Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
kidding. Well, I guess there's cornhole. There's got to be kettlebell. So is that like on ESPN or is it just?
Yeah, it's ESPN
Yeah?
The Ocho. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. No,
Really?
it's not on ESPN yet. But it's an entire world of people who are they're world class athletes. They have more ability and strength than any professional athlete that you would ever see.
Really? And they
have,
compete like you see dead weight lifting and those, those kind of lifting. They have competitions.
They have competitions very similar to that. Wow. So you're starting to see a lot more of them. If you go to Olympia or Arnold's or any of your major fitness events, you will be able to go and see kettlebell lifting events as well. And the company, Kettlebell Kings that we started, that was one of the core kind of foundations that we had. We would go out and we would partner with, organizations, kind of these grassroots organizations that sponsor and support these athletes that no one really knows exist or recognizes. And,
right.
I think that kind of stuff goes a long way when you're trying to build a brand, especially around a niche, and have the kind of authority in that space. It really helped us build the level of ground support and credibility early on, supporting groups like that.
Yeah, it's probably because I was talking about niching down. And when you niche down, you actually increase your profitability and your productivity and everything. I would think that it would be a good net, right? It's not such a wide open marketplace that you can't get in there and do it better or compete, right? Because it couldn't be a ton of kettlebell companies and people sponsoring people. And right, I would think it'd be a pretty specific niche, no?
Yeah, I mean there were almost zero sponsorships when we started doing it.
There you go. Right.
I think that's the good place to be for any business where you're building out that model, and then other people are coming behind you to try to outclass you or outbeat you, if you will, in your sponsorships.
Yeah, definitely.
But when you build it from the beginning, it builds a lot of not only just the brand loyalty, but a lot of personal loyalty and personal equity with those organizations that hadn't been previously supported. So, if you're the first person to do someone right who's been kind of waiting and hoping for these types of opportunities, it's really your position to lose versus you competing with the rest of the market for it.
All right, so let's talk about the business model, right? Because I heard some of the things you were talking about, some of the subscription based. You said men's supplies or grooming or whatever. Those are good businesses, right? Because people use up what they have from you, and then they buy more every month, or they're on a monthly payment plan or whatever. I don't think they're buying kettlebells every month from you. So what's the business model, and how many kettlebells do I buy? One person, and who do you sell them to? You sell? Is it more of a B2B sale where you're selling to gyms and facilities, or B2C, or what's the business model?
Well, I mean that for that particular business, I think different businesses can have different models, obviously, but for that particular business, I think it is kind of on the extreme, if you will, of having a longer sales funnel and a longer strategy than most businesses. So you're not just going out and just spending $5 on a Facebook ad and someone's buying a kettlebell. It's more of a educational process and bringing people into a community, and then once you have a community, that community needs equipment, and when the community needs equipment, you can also offer, top of the line equipment. And if they're associated with your brand, it's going to become a no-brainer purchase for them.
But is it more of a B2C purchase than a B2B purchase?
Most of it is B2C.
Okay.
Yeah, most of it is B2C. But, there's a lot of B2B as well, because you have such large gym chains and you have such, such a big focus around the world. Let's say it's a growing market in general. Fitness is as a whole, but then home fitness is even, it's even grown significantly more, even pre-COVID, and then COVID just, completely put it on steroids.
Control. Everybody's like, I got to be able to work out at home. How am I going to do this?
And it hasn't even slowed down. So, even if you think the whole market right now is not favorable, the fitness market is still booming, and it's still well above where it should even be post-COVID. So.
Yeah, well, I think people's health is important to them, and I think like the clients that I have that have gyms and stuff, and CrossFit and all that. I mean, they jumped and said, "How do we get these people online like right away?"
Yeah,
the ones that didn't do it are out of business. But I mean, I think that really gave everybody a push. But you're right. I mean, look, health and fitness was always a huge business before COVID. Peloton was an example of that, right? And it's become bigger now that people are. I mean, a lot of it is not just because we're not trapped in our homes, but a lot of it is we're working from home, right? So we want to stay home and work out at home and not go to the gym. I like to go to the gym. I like to get out of the house, go to the gym, come back. I mean, I also don't like to work at home. I go to my office, but I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But so what's the value of a lifetime what's the lifetime value of a customer? I mean, how many of these things are going to buy? Is it, I mean, you're constantly marketing, got to resell and find new customers all the time, or?
Well, I think that's the beauty of kind of owning a business and serving a community is, you start it with your own kind of preconceived notions and concepts about how things are going to work. But once you get to a certain level, you kind of have your own focus group, and it's more of using the community to tell you what they need. So when we started, we kind of had a similar concept as you would think, is like, okay, how are we going to sell, 10 kettlebells to a person, right? Like, this is
right, exactly.
purchase.
Yeah.
But we quickly realized that was not true. We quickly realized you buy one and you realize you need more than one. So most people don't come and buy the full needs in their first purchase. So you can, rather than you buying the 5 or 10 that you actually need, you're going to buy 5 over the next 6 years. And then what else can we supplement in there to also get you, because we basically can ship that now for free to you. So, once a year we get to ship you something else that you can purchase for free along with your average, or your normal kettlebell purchase. And I think that's more of the typical customer.
Cross-sell, the upsell.
The cross-sell, the upsell.
Once you have a community of loyal
you're
customers.
talking about, 3+ purchases from most of our customers. And we wouldn't have expected that starting the business. And, I think that's just us looking at all businesses like data and kind of like a growing organism, that it should take the data and take the community, and then we just kind of turn that into products that they need. If our community is saying they need, if they like dumbbells as well, we'll partner and create relationships with a dumbbell company, or we may come up with our own new brand of dumbbells.
Right. Or you can wholesale it, right? You still make money.
We'll serve the community, but keep the brand focused on what it's about, and the brand's content generation strategy. And, like we would try to see it less like the ESPN of the kettlebell world, where you're trying to create a centralized place where people absorb credible information, and then you serve that community whatever products that they want.
Right. Could be supplements, protein, and, whatever. Doesn't have to, right? Didn't have to be weights.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So now you're building a mailing list of people that, So I guess that's what ultimately brought value to the business, right? It was the community, the loyal customers, and the brand name over time.
Sure. I mean, and you're talking about, we are doing this for 10 years. So, we have hundreds of thousands of leads at this point that, qualified leads that, we've paid for and communicate with on a regular basis. So once you have such a large mailing list, like I say, it becomes a lot easier to bring products and services out, because they'll tell you what they want.
Yeah. See, I ask good questions. I don't know. People don't think I ask good questions, but that's a good question, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think a lot of people don't think about that. They start a business and they're making a product and they're selling the product and they're struggling. They don't realize that, these people that bought their product the first time, you found them. Yeah. I probably went through a lot to find them to begin with. Figure out what other things you can sell to them.
Yeah.
I had a woman on, her episode hasn't even been released yet, but she's in the earthworm business, like making good soil and composting and things like that. And she would sell, I think at first she was selling like the worms to people to make good soil. And then she realized, wait a second, I'm selling people the worms, and now they're all just doing it on their own. They don't need me to do this, as opposed to her selling the soil. And it was an interesting, conclusion. But I think that that the kettlebell idea, like, were you using kettlebells or no?
When I first started, when we started the company, that was the first time I really started using kettlebells, maybe 6 months before we started the company. And I personally saw a lot of benefit from it, because I had never used the tool before. I'd always went to the gym like complete, meathead, where I'm lifting as heavy as possible, as hard as possible. I'm really burning myself out.
That's what I used to do in those days. I tore my shoulder, my elbow.
Eventually,
but there's these guys at my gym still. I see them. They're in their 20s and they're pumping iron or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say.
What happened? Somebody said, "Hey, you ought to try these," or you just tried them, or
I was just on my own personal journey. I had grown up being very competitive in sports and very competitive in general around working out and things like that. So when I would go to like a normal gym, it just wouldn't feel like the setting I would want to work out in. It felt more like a social scene than an actual fitness facility sometimes.
Yeah, that's more the fitness clubs versus the gyms,
Yeah, exactly. And so, you're right. And so there are some that are a lot better. And I think, different gyms have different kind of cultures now more than ever, which I like. But at the time, I was just out of college, kind of having to choose the cheapest choice. And I didn't like it. I didn't necessarily like it.
You go to the musclehead gyms because they were cheap and, nobody... But there wouldn't be there weren't treadmills and, yoga classes. They didn't exist at those gyms.
Yeah, exactly.
We would go there to bench whatever you could lift. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do that stuff anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't, or yeah. So you'd either have a gym like that with no real Olympic lifts and no, no real equipment like that, or treadmills and bikes and things like that, or you'd have where they go completely the other way, and it's just a huge amount of treadmills and bikes and people just sitting.
Yeah,
on
like
machines
what were those
and not working out.
franchises? Soul Cycle, and there were two of those where when cycling became real big, and that's all they would do. But I never liked that stuff. I was never a class guy. Like my wife was always, let's take this class. I'm like, I like my own stuff, because that's how I grew up, right? At the gym, you go to the gym to work out with your friends. There was no classes.
Yeah.
So we get off the topic.
So basically I started working out at home a lot, and I started looking into more, home fitness and what tools people are using at home. And once I started working out with kettlebell, it was more interesting because it was off balanced and it wasn't something I'd used before. But then, I actually started seeing faster results, and I was like, wait a minute, like I should have been at the very least supplementing this into some of my workouts.
Right, because you're probably now using your muscles differently than you were. Your muscles got
I saw certain muscles that I'd never seen be as bigger or more defined or stronger in whatever functionality that I may have been struggling with before. And it's because more of the dynamic motions of using it, the same way you will get, a little more explosion, if you will, out of like Olympic lifts versus your static lifts.
Got it.
You're generating that dynamic and momentum power versus just your static strength, basically.
And that was at the beginning of the whole, how are we going to work out to home? What are you going to do? I mean, you grew up and they were like, I know you had those things you'd squeeze, whatever those were. There was nothing. Weights around your ankles when you go running. Yeah. There was nothing like that. So let me ask you a question on the business side, getting away from the because I could talk about the gym stuff all the time.
Sure.
Did you guys have going in the plan and the strategic plan to ultimately exit this business? I mean, like, were you saying, listen, we're going to grow this thing and then we're going to buy, and we're going to, 7 to 10 years, we're going to sell out and go into another business? Or you really didn't know that at that point?
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. I mean, we knew. I mean, this is kind of the same way I look at everything. Is I know I want to compete on the highest level. So whoever's out there doing it, I want to compete on that level.
Better.
Yeah, I want to do it equal to better. I want to be in the ballpark of what people, when they think about whatever industry I'm in, I want to set that example. I want to be one of the leaders.
So you didn't.
So we didn't know what that was going to look like. We knew we needed to get, we had, milestones. We wanted to get to $1 million in revenue and then maybe 5 million in revenue. But the goals were to get it to a point where we could either give ourselves, kind of a stable income without having to work as hard for it, or sell it to someone and try to make some life-changing money that way. Once we started really looking for extreme amount of inventory, financing, and different things like that, the amount of money that we needed to grow the company was really close to, the same kind of amount that someone maybe would purchase it for, if you will. If you're talking about taking your company from America and having enough inventory to do 3 more countries, that you're talking that's in the millions of inventory alone.
Right.
So partnering with a larger company or figuring out some type of acquisition or agreement that would give us an upside on the expansion as well as some type of down payment was what we ended up doing, basically.
And how'd you find these people? You just kind of ran into them from looking to grow?
Well, through our inventory financing search, we started talking with people, and then small, I shouldn't say small, investment groups, capital investment firms started reaching out,
like private equity type of groups,
offering different relationships, and then quite a few people started, seeing the value in the social and kind of the content generation strategy, if you will, that we had built. So, our content generation is pretty priceless for that brand. It literally is an audience. Our competitors have to hashtag Kettlebell Kings in order to get in front of a large audience if they're trying to sell kettlebells. And
really,
that's the position I think most companies are trying to put themselves in, where your name is synonymous with it. Yeah, with the quality version of that particular product. And so I think a lot of that just kind of led to more people reaching out to us. We get a lot of social traction because our following is so big that every single vendor we work with wants to do some type of cross promotional, some type of cross promotional campaign
Sure, collab or something like that.
marketing collab, or if you will.
That's become very big now. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Smart stuff with brands that they recognize.
And so,
All right,
the bigger brand, the more you get to take advantage of those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're at the point where you exited the business. We'll talk about this. Let's take a brief commercial break because these people pay me money, so I got to put their name on there because they support the podcast. And then we'll come back and we can talk about the whole process of exiting and selling and what you got to do and the selling your soul to the devil type of thing, and then how you started and what's going on with the new company. Does that make sense?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. So let me pull up the commercials here. Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Maybe you're looking to get into podcasting, or you just want to market your business. Maybe you want to do it for enjoyment, or because you have a message you want to get out there. One of One Productions is a New Jersey-based studio just over the George Washington Bridge that caters to the booming business of podcasting. They offer a comfortable atmosphere using the latest technology available to record your podcast. And they are a full-service media company offering both audio and video production services, creating both audio and video podcasts as well as video shorts for business and personal use. Professional audio equipment packages are available through their website for all budgets, and be sure to check out their podcast guesting kit, created especially for our listeners. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right, Chad, so we were talking about how you were looking to expand the business, right? And then you people started getting interested in buying the company. So tell me about that experience, because I'm always curious, and a lot of the listeners like to hear about people that exited and what they went through and, that type of stuff.
Sure. When we first started looking to, look for, let's say, $1 million+ in financing for the company, a lot of it led to conversations about equity or potential equity and what types of kind of arrangements, I guess, in terms of the profit sharing, or basically the profit around, that equity getting paid back. Those conversations led to more of internal conversations between us, like what are we willing to give up each in terms to get what we want, and what scenarios do we think would be most lucrative for us personally as well as for the business.
Right. So it wasn't just like they'll just give you a bag of money and you leave and good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, and if that was the case, we want to take that into consideration as well. One of the things we prided ourselves on is really using data and using the business, just sound business practices to try to make decisions. So, it's not necessarily personal. If we felt like someone else had the capability to run the brand better than we could, we wanted to find that person and create a relationship and see how
you didn't necessarily have to run it, but you don't want it to die. You just built up this whole thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that led to basically us realizing that, okay, we're not going to really be able to find the lump sum cash that we want. There's going to have to be some kind of arrangement in which we stay on board and try to help, or at least try to steer the ship in the right direction. Different companies talk to us about different time periods. The one company we ended up going with wanted a 3-year kind of commitment from us. So, we stay on board for the 3-year time frame to assist with the transition and kind of ensure that the company is living up to the, its full potential, whether that's through the relationships or just anything needed with those expansion efforts.
Sure. And you stayed on all 3 years?
So right now we're about a year and a half in. So
okay. So you just exited about a year and a half ago. Okay.
Yeah. So still
How's it going?
In the middle of that experience. It's going. It's one of those things where I think a transition is always going to be hard. So
sure.
The way like I say, the way we look at anything is we're always trying to make sound business moves, and every quarter, every 6 months, whatever it is, I'm always meeting with my business partners to try to figure out what the best strategy is for us moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, that's, and then do you have a non-compete? Like, so you can't go into anything in sports related
not necessarily sports related, just really kettlebells right now, so
just very specific.
Yeah. I can't necessarily do another kettlebell company, but I am,
right.
I do. My other company is obviously, somewhat in the health and wellness space. And then one of my other business partners, he has a separate sports and fitness brand. So it's not necessarily that strict when it comes to that part of it. It's more having us around for the ability to make sure that, ensure things go the right way.
Got it. So you're more consulting with the company, because I didn't realize you were still in the transition period and you started a new company. I thought you had, that was long behind you, and you had started the new company. So let's talk about the new company and how did that come about, and what is it, and, how you're able to do it.
Sure. My new company is Life Grows Green, and it's basically, through my journey and business experience, personal experience, I kind of have noticed and seen people struggle with the types of products that they use just in their natural lifestyle products and the things they ingest or put on their body, on their skin, if you will. So I started Life Grows Green to try to fill a void or fill a gap that I saw in terms of people's understanding of how you can use natural products to help prevent or steer you away from pharmaceutical solutions, if you will.
So it's not just skincare. We're talking about holistic,
I'm
care
talking
for your
about
body.
Yeah, exactly. I'm talking about everything from, the sheets that you sleep on, the pillow that you use, to the supplements that you ingest. I'm literally talking about everything that you can think that can be a natural product. We have allowed commercialism and corporate greed, really, to be honest, to convince us that it's better for it to be produced in that fashion. And
right. So you're going to be like the natural organic Amazon. You'd sell anything as long as it's natural and organic and good for you.
I never put it that. That's the first time I ever heard it put like
well,
that.
Well, you just said, right? It could be anything. I thought originally it was like,
I was going to say, I'll steal that from you.
You can have it. You can have it. Well, but I thought it was originally like, skincare and health and so forth. So it could be something topical or something you ingest. But you're saying, no. If it's your bed sheets, we don't want you to have a rash from your bed sheets and put all these chemicals on it. We want it to be natural cotton, or I don't know, whatever they make bed sheets out of. Right?
Exactly. And Amazon, that would be very ambitious goal. So I don't know. Nice. I don't know if I'm starting there, but I think that would be the idea. And the way I like to try
that's what you're building is like a holistic natural marketplace.
Correct. Yeah, that is correct. Okay. And the way I like to try to build any of the brands is I'm trying to build a community first, and really not, I don't think that I'm like the Messiah and I'll have all the answers and try to tell people how they should do things. I like to try to find like-minded communities and build those communities, and, really try to tear down any stigmas and barriers that prevent people from coming together over these ideas. So
think about more what they want, not what you want to shove down the throat.
Yeah, exactly. So I start with, a baseline of products, and then I am continuously trying to build a community and see, okay, what other healthy products can I kind of steer this community in the right direction of, and what are they asking for? I think everyone right now is more open than they've ever been to finding natural solutions to things. I think we're finally at a point where people are starting to wake up and realize that, McDonald's is not serving you the best quality food. And, there are other things that you can do, and other companies that have kind of aspirations to the quality aspect of our experience here on Earth. And I think that's what I want to be known for. That's the main goal I have.
I think that the best businesses that I've interviewed, clients that I've had, are forget about whether it's natural health, wellness, whatever the industry is. they are constantly asking their customers for feedback as to what they buy, why they buy, what they would like to buy. And it does create, it creates loyalty because it creates an affinity to the company and the brand, because it's like, well, this brand must care about me because they're listening to what I have to say. And it becomes kind of a reflection of who they are, what they want to do, or what they want to buy, I mean, look, even Amazon does it. They just use like very complicated algorithms. They watch what you buy, and then they say, "Oh, Chad, we saw you bought these," and then they recommend 17 other products that maybe you'll be interested in. But the best clients I've had are the best business owners and entrepreneurs. They're constantly asking the question, and they don't ask it once. They're asking it all the time for feedback about, and it makes you right. It does create a community. It creates people to participate, in your business, which creates brand opportunities and cross-selling opportunities and collaboration opportunities and promotional opportunities, all that kind of stuff. I think people miss that, don't you think?
I 100%. I tell every social media manager I have, I tell them that a troll is just a rabid follower. That's all they really are. So you can turn people's energy into something positive. People, they want to express things and they want to be a part of things. Especially when you see people online, I think if the internet has taught us anything, it's that people are looking for connection. They're looking to communicate with people. They're looking for people to listen to their ideas, to look at their pictures, to look at their thoughts and videos. And when you can create a centralized place that focuses on a concept, especially a positive concept, I think it's really easy to build a community, as long as you just keep fostering with some type of value and reason for people to come back there. And it's obviously easier said than done, but that's what I did with Kettlebell Kings in the fitness space. I use that as a centerpiece for a health and wellness community. And now I'm trying to use kind of the concept of natural lifestyle, natural products, plant-based products.
Right. It's the same formula. It's just in a different,
I'm trying to create a community around that.
And, Chad, I don't know if that's a fair statement to say that it's not easier said than done. That is true, that it's not easier said than done. But if you apply yourself, I mean, you just said before that you guys became very good at content creation, right? Putting out content that resonated with your community. And that became very valuable to, as a matter of fact, you said people still use that hashtag. So, I think that if people focused a little bit, maybe got a little bit of help and started putting out really good content, and sometimes that takes time to figure out, but I think that's one of the things that people miss, even if they're not an online business, they're brick and mortar business, putting out content and becoming, what's the word, relevant and an authority even in your little industry, whatever that industry happens to be. I think that that's such a key to success. I mean, look what it did for you and your partners. You didn't get into this thing and say, look, let's build a business. In the 7 to 10 years, we're going to exit the business and we're going to look for a 3X multiple and all that kind of stuff. People do that, but you kind of went on this journey. Let's just build a really good company. Find a product that we can resonate with, become good at it and all that. And it kind of took care of itself. It doesn't happen by accident. It's not magic, but if you do what you did, right? And now you're doing it again. And I'm sure you were going to be successful because you got the formula. And as long as you follow the formula, you and I might be talking 3 years from now and you'd be like, yeah, the company didn't make it. You know why? Because I didn't stick with what I knew I was supposed to do. And I went off the rails. People do that. But that's what I think. I think people miss the value of becoming a thought leader. They're afraid to do it. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think, no, not at all. I think, for me, it comes easier than I think it comes to most people because of my athletic background. My athletic background is always about the team. It's always about improving. Even when you win the game, you go watch film about your mistakes and you get better. And so there's never a game that you just say, oh, we're not going to go watch film. We did everything perfect yesterday.
No, but that's what makes you a premier athlete, because you're driven. Exactly. You're an A-type. You want. It's like, well, I don't know what comes first, the personality type or the sports accomplishments. They kind of feed each other, so that's not a surprise. Yeah.
And then with business, I try to create that culturally inside of if you're using the kettlebell as an example, how can we get better at serving the community? How can we make a better product? Everyone has their own measurement of success inside of that. And so every day it's just a rinse and repeat of let's do our best. Let's try to serve the community the best way we can, and then see what we did wrong, see what they think of how we've been serving them, and try to do it better. And once you start creating those feedback loops of positivity where when you do something, the community is going to respond in this way, it's like you have your finger on the pulse and everything becomes super easy.
Of course.
You know how many sales you're going to make before you send the email, before you even send.
Yeah, because you already know what's happening, right?
Yeah,
I think the sports mentality definitely helps. There's a lot of people that they go into work every day, they go into their company every day, and they're just putting out fires.
Yeah,
and but you're very like a lot of athletes, especially at the college level, because the pros is different, right? But college is a whole nother level from growing up and playing in the streets and playing even high school ball, right? It's very intense, and it's a big part. It probably was a bigger part of your schooling than your schooling was. That seems to be when you play right at college level, they like squeeze in the school, and you got to be doing whatever sport you're in 7 days a week, right?
That's squeezing in the school.
So I went out for the tennis team. I was a big tennis player in high school. I went out for the tennis team at Cornell. I wasn't recruited or anything, but I could have made it like as an alternate or whatever. And I was trying. After the tryouts, I was like, oh my God, this is going to like take over my whole life. I didn't come here for that. And I didn't. Maybe I should have, but I didn't. And I was like, and I didn't wait around to see if I got on the team or not. But I think there's a certain personality that drives you to sports, makes you successful. And there's certain things in sports that makes you successful after that. And people don't have that kind of drive. So I'm not saying that they can just develop it. It's hard to do that. But if you can stay focused on what your daily goals are, right? Your daily activities that you need to be doing, which you just mentioned, right? Coming in and saying, listen, I know these are the things I want to do to make today successful. Yeah. Write them down, pin them on your forehead. I don't know whatever it is, but people just get distracted. They walk into their work and everything's a fire drill a whole day. Then the day finishes and they did nothing. And the weeks go by, and the months go by, and the years go by, and they're just wandering around, and there becomes a lifestyle business. There's no measure of productivity or anything like that. I'm sure you guys must have measured that all the time, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the things that I'm also a big proponent of is just using digital tools to their full potential. We live in a data age. There's no excuse for you not kind of recording the journey, I look at it like film. Right. It's literally like film. So if I don't have a digital trace of what I did yesterday, 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm not going to be able to go watch film and improve on it. And so everything,
no game film, you can't be ready for next week, right? Absolutely,
exactly. So everything I set up is some type of trackings that, at some point, even if it's once a year, we're trying to improve on pretty much any data point that we can correlate to another and improve upon.
Got it. So the business plan with the new company is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Is to grow a following, grow a community, kind of do the same thing you did with the kettlebells, to build product offerings that they want, grow a community, get followers, and then supplement it from there as you go, right? Find collaboration, things like that, and eventually grow it to the point where you have sales and you got a following, you got a community, maybe subscription based if you can figure that part out. And then I guess exit again, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, we already have some of the things on your, on that list checked off already. And so I think, ultimately it would be to get to a point where we could see ourselves as like an Amazon type marketplace. I think that's the ultimate vision. The way I look at it now is, we have to start somewhere with kind of that spark or that community, that underground community of supporters. And, that's what I'm really trying to focus on and build a concept around of what types of people are into natural products as a priority in their lives, and how do they typically go about shopping, and how can I pull those people together as quickly as possible and serve them content and bring them value.
Yeah. So how did you learn to do that? I don't know if you have the customer list from kettlebells, or maybe you're not allowed to have the customer list from kettlebells. How do you then I have this great concept, this great idea, I want to get it out to people. How does a business owner go about getting the word out there and finding these people?
Yeah. I definitely can't just use kettlebells. I think when you build, some sort of credibility that, I think you get a little boost every time you do something else. So, there is a sense of credibility in the brand that I built before and the community that I built before. But
so you have some following that
I have some
over.
following that would, that would know of me and what I built and things
Right.
like that. But I think more importantly, I really don't even want to like lean on that. I look at these things as completely separate. And so,
well, let's assume you're not Chad Price or you're Chad
exactly.
Price,
Let's assume
15
I
years
just
ago.
started this from scratch,
Right.
just like
So
I
what do
did
you
at the
do?
Kettlebell company.
Just start writing blogs? I mean, what do you do?
Exactly. You got to start producing content. You got to start producing blogs, videos. You have to work with people who are already in the space. So collaborations go way further than most people think. It's almost like building an alliance of online personalities and personas and people that follow the image that you're trying to build. So, instead of me thinking of myself going to produce, 2 years worth of production for my own internal content, I'm going to only try to produce 5% of that and go work with other people who are already producing content that I would think my audience should see. And
they have their own following.
They have their own followings. They have everything. And the people who are business minded in those settings, they will already know how to take their audience and make money off of it. The people who are not business minded, they might just produce good content, and they want to be in front of other places where content gets aggregated. And so there's a win-win for everyone that is actually true to the ultimate goal of serving a community high quality content. No one wants ESPN to pay them to be on ESPN. They will gladly let ESPN show any video of them doing any sports clip. And
they're not going to charge ESPN, but they don't want to pay.
Exactly, but the value is in ESPN fostering that place where it's a credible source of sports information, and when someone sees you there, that's a big deal, and that's more of what I like to try to create online as well.
Yeah, definitely. There was a guy on my podcast. It was my first live episode in March. Like, what was it, April? Yeah, in March. And he's got a company called Blogger Evolution, and that's how he got started. He had a job. I think his wife wanted to stop working, so she was having a baby. And he said, you know what, I'm going to see if I can do some affiliated marketing, right? You know what affiliate marketing is, people listening, right? You can promote products from other people, and then they pay you. So he would like pick up, I don't know, pens or something. He's selling pens, right? So he would start, a blog. This was many years ago. He still does it. And then he would just start putting out content about pens and writing and things. And, eventually people start buying, and then you get $100 a month, $200 a month, a couple $1,000 a month. And there's companies that buy these things, like they pay 35 to 45 times the monthly revenue. And he would just do it, and he would just repeat it. Now he's got a thing called Blogger Evolution, where he teaches people how to blog and how to make money. And it's all about content. And I mean, like, putting out 30, 40, 50 articles before you start seeing any, things. So a lot of the stuff, just like the podcast, you have to be persistent, right? You're not going to get a following in a week if you're just starting out. I'm sure it took a while, right?
Oh, it takes quite a while. And I think that's the frustrating part is it has to become an essential part of the corporate policies, if you will, and you don't see any benefit from it at first. It's a long.
You have to believe. You got to be a believer.
Yeah, you have to be believed.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing though is you do get some kind of, let's say, some pats on the back, if you will, if you're really setting up the data and watching your engagement. And I think that's one of the things that I've always big on is, even if it's just 5 followers the first time, if the next time 7, the next time's 14, as long as we're going in the right direction, right?
And it builds up steam.
Yeah, you build up steam. And so I think there's a lot to getting out there, creating a content schedule, doing it for a month or two, and sitting down with an expert and analyzing what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you do better. And then
but don't do it in a week. Don't put one thing on LinkedIn and say, oh, I once posted something on LinkedIn. I didn't get anything. You
definitely should look at it in the month or even quarterly perspective. Right. I think monthly is fair, but if you're talking about sales, you probably should move to quarterly if you're talking about
farther out. Yeah. It took me a long time before people even recognize me of the podcast. Now I go places here locally, people recognize me, and I get business from the podcast. But I didn't for the first year. And a buddy of mine, he's got a podcast called the E-Tribe, I think. ESAR, and I was on his podcast where we did a dual episode, and he said It's not magic, but it seems like it's magic. You just keep putting out content, good content, not bad content, but good content on a regular basis. And don't ever say that piece didn't work. Like, you don't know, because that piece could lead to this and somebody else reads it here. And once it's all out there, it keeps working, because it's in, stuff never goes away in the internet. You know, like you said, hashtag Kettlebell Kings is still being used and out there and so forth. So you create this groundswell. Well, I appreciate the time you came on again, because I think it's a great story, and you're achieving a lot of stuff, and the whole story is interesting, and you shared a lot of good things for people that are listening to hopefully reduce the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're in business, to figure things out. So I can't thank you enough. Let's definitely stay in touch. I want to hear what's going on with the new company. Check back in maybe in a year or so. And I appreciate it again, and have a great weekend.
Thank you for having me. It was nice to be on again.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moscovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review, and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhacker and produced by Beinhacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.